As we inch ever and ever closer to the Lions playoff game against the Rams on Sunday night, Lions fans and Lions players in general have got not only a razor-sharp focus, but a strong desire to finish this out and get their first playoff game. We're going to talk about in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned.
We used to be a team no one respected. We used to be a team no one feared. That was then. This is now.
First victory of the year on the line. Goff's got it. Back, looks, throws, end zone. Yes! Caught!
You know who we are.
10-5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
And you know where to find us. We won't be far. We'll be on your front porch waiting for you. We are the New Era Lions. And
we are driven by Detroit.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving in right now. But before we dive in, I just want to say to everybody that's coming back to my show, my loyal subscribers and viewers, thank you all for coming back. Thank you all for your view. It absolutely means the world to me that I have your view, your support, and your patronage. And to those that are coming into my show for the very, very first time, I just want to say thank you all for giving my show a shot. Welcome on in. I hope you all enjoy the content. But even more so, I hope to get your subscription if I've earned and deserved it. And with that having been said, I just want to say everybody, God bless. I hope you all are having a great day, and let's dive into the show here. So, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, we know this to be true as fans of the Detroit Lions, and we know this for the rest of the NFL, every NFL analyst, every player, no matter whoever it is. Until it happens, the Lions will have to continue to hear over and over again, and will have to deal with the fact that they haven't won a playoff game in 30 plus years, 32 to be precise. And when you think about it, this game is extremely important. I just talked about this in the previous episode that I had released. I'll put that episode back up at the top, and you'll see exactly why I'm saying it's extremely important. But if you understand that narrative, if you understand what I'm saying there, that extreme importance provides the Lions the motivation, all that they need to finally change the narrative to get over this long-time playoff drought that we have had. Because again, 32 years since our last playoff victory. That is a long time to go without a win in the playoffs. That's almost as long as I have been on the earth alive. Now, the Lions are definitely an extremely talented team on both sides of the football. More so the offense than the defense, but still a very talented team. However, the Lions do have a lot of young players that are coming into this game that don't have pretty much any kind of playoff experience. There's a lot of guys on this team that don't have a lot of playoff experience, and most of that comes down to the rookies. There's also a couple of other older players that haven't gotten any playoff experience, but again, there's a lot of players on this team that just simply don't have any playoff experience. However, though, despite that inexperience and youth that the Lions do have, that does not mean they don't have players that don't have any playoff experience whatsoever. And to kind of combat that whole thing I'm talking about with no playoff experience, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Lions have not been in some very high-pressure moments where they've been battle-tested for this. First and foremost, let's think about this. How many damn primetime games have the Lions played this year? Like 5, 6 primetime games? That's a lot of high-pressure moments. And for the most part, the Lions have come through that pretty well. If I had to think about it realistically, I think the Lions have lost maybe twice in primetime matchups. Otherwise, they've won. Which pretty much means they have proven their ability to win those high-pressure matchups against quality teams for the most part. But when you think about it, outside just the primetime narrative that I'm talking about, that all of these players have existed in, again, take a look at players that have been to the playoffs that are on both sides of the football here that are really going to help keep things in perspective and focus for the Lions. Again, Jared Goff, been to a Super Bowl, plenty of playoff experience. Even Taylor Decker has been to the playoffs one time. You take a look at Monty. He's been to the playoffs one time. I'm talking about specifically David Montgomery. Anzalone has been to the playoffs. Cameron Sutton has been to the playoffs. You take a look at CJGJ or CD Deuce, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's been to a Super Bowl as well. Same thing with Josh Reynolds. He's been to a playoff period and also to a Super Bowl, if I recall correctly. So again, there's a lot of guys on this team, both sides of the football, that have playoff experience. So these guys are all going to help keep the Lions eyes on the prize. Going to keep them focused, going to keep them reined in, so that way when we play on Sunday night, everyone's good to go. Now, here's the thing, though. It's not just the players that are doing this for themselves. You gotta think about it. It's not just the players that have those experienced vets that will serve the Lions well to ensure that everything is going well. First and foremost, those veterans that I'm talking about, they will do three things to help this team out. One, they're going to keep the young players and the rookies from getting overwhelmed. Because let's just think about this. Forget what's going on with the media and everybody talking about the Lions and the Rams and everything else. You're getting ready to play in the playoffs. And if there's one thing I've heard from virtually everybody that's been to the playoffs in interviews is that when you're playing in the playoffs, it is a completely different animal. You can say primetime games are a great source of experience, and they are. But primetime games ain't got nothing on playoff games. It's like you went from one level and now you just upped the ante to another level. That's what a playoff game is like. Because at playoff period, you're getting opponents that are playing as fast as they can. You're getting the best of the best playing against you. It's just a whole completely different animal, which means you have to be razor sharp focused. And for some players, it can be a little bit overwhelming to try and get up to speed on that. So I guarantee you, those veterans or those players that have been to the Super Bowl that the Lions have, that have been in multiple playoff games, they're like, listen, this is a game where it's going to be fast, it's going to be intense. You have to be on you got to be on your P's and Q's. So there's that thing that those veterans are going to do. Number two, these veterans are also going to ensure that the whole team is locked in, whether it's every drill, every action, every meeting, every rep, every moment. Those veterans are going to make sure, listen, nobody lapses in any sort of mental acuity. Nobody lapses in any sort of drill, any sort of meeting. It's like, listen, you are locked in, you are razor sharp focused, you are taking in and absorbing every single detail to its finest. So that's the second thing that those experienced vets are going to do. The third thing that they're going to do is, I'm going to say this right now. When you're a professional like these guys are, again, I know everybody here has seen the television documentary that's on Netflix, Last Dance, which talks about Michael Jordan and that 1998 Bulls season, which also talks about his entire career up until that point. But if you take a look at what Michael Jordan did, he was always focusing on nothing else but winning. Nothing else but mattered. That was it. It was all about winning the game. It was all about winning. That competitive drive to win the game at all costs. I'm telling you this right now. Those veterans that have those playoff experiences, that have that Super Bowl experience, they're going to have that entire team focused on nothing but getting the game won and having that entire mindset turned on for the entire period during the game, before the game. Because again, it's going to be throughout all the practices that they've had already. It's going to be in the pregame warmups. It's going to be in everything that they do up until kickoff. And then when kickoff comes on, now you're putting everything into practice. Now you're putting everything into motion. So again, I'm telling you, these vets and these experienced players, they're going to make sure that everybody is razor focused on nothing but the game and winning the game. Whether it's, like I said, the practices, the game planning sessions, the film sessions, the pregame warmups, you're going to be talking about guys that, listen, don't talk to them unless it's about football and unless it's about this game, because everything else can go take a hang. So, when you think about that, the stakes couldn't be higher for the Lions players, for the Lions team. Because again, this is a team that is going to be taking on the Los Angeles Rams. That, as I've already explained multiple times this week, and as every other Lions fan already knows, that has high significance. Again, you're taking on the old franchise quarterback in Matthew Stafford. You're fighting for the first playoff win in 30 years. And you're at home as well. So again, this is a game that has a lot of significance to it, a lot of extreme importance to it, as I said earlier. And again, this is not like the NBA, like I was talking about with Michael Jordan, where it's like, hey, best of 6, best of 7, whatever the case is. No, this is a sudden death playoff. You get one chance to win, and that's it. You either win or you go home. There is no do-overs. So it's like, listen, that heightens the pressure. It heightens all of that being put onto the players. Like, listen, we have to come into this game, we have to give our best effort, our best foot forward, because we only get one shot at this. That's it. There's no do-overs. It's either do or die. So when you think about all that pressure, everything's getting heightened in this game. And when you have all the history and all the narratives that are included, the Lions are going to have to be at the top of their game, and I believe that they will be at the top of their game. Because again, like I said, there's simply no shortage of motivation for this game. There is simply no shortage of narratives. There's simply no shortage of anything you're going to need to ensure that your mind, that your drive, your competitive advantages are all towards trying to win this game for the Lions. But when you think about it, there are 3 reasons why I think that this game is really going to be a coming out party for the Detroit Lions, why I think the Lions are going to win the game. And the 3 reasons are as such: Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and then the Detroit Lions old guard. Now, let's get into those reasons. Reason number 1, Dan Campbell. I'm going to just say this right now. Dan Campbell is perhaps, if not the best leader in the NFL, one of the best leaders in the NFL when it comes to being head coach. Because if you think about it, that man always knows what to say, how to say it to get his players motivated every single damn time. And let's just face it, the man also is a great soundbite machine as well, because anytime the man speaks, there's always something about him that is very, very intriguing and interesting, whether you're a Lions fan or not. But he's a great motivator. He's a great leader. And I'm telling you this right now, there is no way in heaven or hell that he is not going to have his team on task and not mentally ready for this game. It's just not going to happen. They are going to be locked in. And they're already locked in, I guarantee you. But you have to think about this. It's not just for Dan Campbell as a coach that this is a great thing. Because let's understand something here. This is Dan Campbell's first playoff game as a coach. That's something that a lot of people haven't thought about here. Everyone's been talking about the narrative about Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Lions, Rams, that whole thing. 30 years since playoff victories. And you know what? Playoff game at home. But this is Dan Campbell's first playoff game as a head coach. This is a pretty damn big game for him too, just on a personal level. That's just from the side of being a head coach. But take a look at it as well. Dan Campbell's a former Lions player. He also understands the importance, the significance, just how much this means to the city of Detroit and to the team and to the organization. This game has a lot of personal meaning to him as a coach, as an ex-player, and for his team, the organization. I mean, dude, Dan Campbell is not missing any of this. And I guarantee you, he has talked about it or kind of alluded to it at some point, at one point or another, during this last week getting ready for the game. So I guarantee you, Dan Campbell's going to have this team ready to rock and roll. They're locked in. So that's number 1. Reason number 2, Jared freaking Goff. I'm going to say this right now. Woodward Sports and everybody else that has been trying to make this about, oh, it's Matthew Stafford's chance to come back to Detroit. Hey, you know what? Welcome back, Matthew Stafford. Screw you. This is Jared Goff's team. Period. And I'm telling you this right now, the man needs no more motivation for this game at all. Because again, I remember listening to the interview, and I'm pretty sure most everybody else remembers this, when somebody asked him about if he still had a chip on his shoulder after the trade, he said, absolutely, that has not left me at all. Now granted, he was saying it kind of like, yeah, it's still there. But I guarantee you this, Jared Goff is still very, very much motivated to win this game above all else, to just win the game. But the one thing about Jared Goff that really, really impressed me more than anything else is that despite that personal thing that he wants to win the game so that way he can kind of stick it to the Rams, is that he literally said this. He's like, listen, that could be whatever. You can talk about that personal narrative all you want, but I want to win this game so badly for the city of Detroit. It's like, listen, Jared Goff's only been here for 3 years, but it's like he understands that whole prime directive that I'm talking about that Lions fans have gone through that I said in that previous. I was like, listen, he wants to win for them because it's like, listen, he knows how badly we want it. And he wants to give it to us because it's like, listen, this is a chance for him to really do us a great favor. It's really a chance for him to go down in history. It's really a chance for him to give us Lions fans something to really cheer about. So it's like, listen, when you take a look at that, in all the experience in leadership that he's been demonstrating to everybody this entire week, whether it's been Amon-Ra St. Brown saying, hey, I want to win for him, but yet Jared Goff's like, listen, I want to win this game for the city of Detroit. I'm not letting my personal feelings get in the way of what I need to do here. Jared Goff is showing that his leadership in the playoffs, his experience in the playoffs is coming to bear fruit. And it's something that I believe everybody's looking towards him to get this win. Because if you think about it, he's like, one of 2 or 3 players that the Lions have that have been to a Super Bowl on this team. Like I said, Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. CJ has been to a Super Bowl. And like I said, I also think Josh Reynolds was on that Super Bowl that Jared Goff went. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I know Goff and Gardner Johnson have been to Super Bowls. So I guarantee you this, Jared Goff's going to make sure this team is focused. He's probably going to go about it in a very different way than what Campbell's doing, but it's like, listen, Jared Goff is going to make sure the team is focused, and Jared Goff is going to make sure that, hey, while he's got his own personal whatever, that's not going to overtake the team. That's not going to overtake, hey, winning for the team, winning for the city. It's like, listen, if Jared Goff gets his chance at revenge, that's just putting a cherry on top. But what's the main focus for him is like, listen, I just want to win, so that way we give something back to the city of Detroit. So that way the team has a chance to win. It's not about him, it's about everybody else first, and if he gets his, then that comes in second. So again, this is going to be a chance for Jared Goff to get eternal glory in Detroit, and this is going to be a chance for the Lions and fans to have their moment in the sun. So again, this is going to be a big, big game for Jared Goff, and I guarantee you, he's got that team and himself laser focused. Now finally, the old guard. Now, you guys pretty much would know what this is if you've been watching the post-game celebrations in the locker rooms, but there was a post-game celebration where Dan Campbell brought in the old guard. He specifically was talking about Taylor Decker and all the other players that had been with the Lions way, way back in the day. And like Campbell said, this old guard that the Lions have had for a long time, such as guys like Graham Glasgow, Taylor Decker, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Tracy Walker, all those guys that have been there before freaking Campbell and the rest of them showed up, they've long endured the hardship of not winning in Detroit, despite that being their fervent desire and hope, which is giving the city of Detroit, giving the Lions a playoff victory. And over the years, those players, especially Taylor Decker, who's been there longer in Detroit than anybody else, they have literally put all that they've had into this process. Their sweat, their blood, their tears, their efforts. And it's like, listen, these are guys that you do not have to tell them the importance of this game. Because again, like I said in that previous episode, this is a game where it's like for them, they're not only playing for themselves to get that first playoff victory, that first sweet taste of victory in the playoffs, but they're playing yet again for the team, for everybody else in that locker room, for the city of Detroit. And I'm telling you this right now, there's no way they're not going to let that get by them. They are going to make sure that above all else, they put every single amount of effort, all of their heart, all of their soul, all of their being out on that field to try and win. And again, that's the difference in my personal opinion when it comes to this Lions team that's playing in the playoffs versus teams that we've seen the last, 20 years that have made it to the playoffs. Because we've made it to the playoffs 3 other times. It's just like this team has a different aura about it. It has a different vibe about it. It has a different kind of makeup to it, which makes me believe, quite personally, it's like, listen, this is a team that complements itself well to each other, both sides of the ball, but it's also a team that fully believes in what they're doing, and they're fully encapsulated in this mindset of, listen, while we're trying to win for each other, we're trying to win for the city of Detroit. We're trying to give back to the fan base. We're trying to give back to the organization. And everybody else, while they might have their own personal feelings on this, they come first. The city and the fans come first. We come second. And it just to me, it shows that the Lions, they're razor focused. They are determined, they're resolute, and their desire to win. And as mentioned, they will enforce these guys that I'm talking about, Campbell, Goff, the old guard, all the other veterans that have been to the playoffs. They're all going to make sure that all attention and all focus is set on defeating the Rams on Sunday night. Because again, this is a game you're going to remember where you're at. These players are going to remember what they were doing. These players are going to remember every stinking moment of this game for years to come. This is a game that literally is going to change a lot of things about the Lions. I truly believe that. I sincerely believe it down to my bedrock core, my bones, I believe it. But anyway, with that having been said, I think I've done a good job of putting out the narrative. So with that having been said, I just want to say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode I got coming at the end of this one. And I also encourage y'all please to do one of these 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past, and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so, I want to highly encourage you all again to please subscribe, as it does help me out immensely. But also, after you've subscribed, make sure you turn on that bell notification icon as well, so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Again, the subscription numbers are always going up, and we're very, very close to 4,000, if not by the time I've released this, over 4,000. But we want to keep that number going up because it's always going up. But I also want to encourage y'all to make sure you turn on that notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. And I also encourage y'all to help in that endeavor by sharing this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. So that way we can continue to help the spread of the channel, help it grow, and continue to get more and more people in to talk about football and the Lions. And with that having been said, I just want to say to everybody, thank you all for your time, thank you all for your view, your support, and your patronage. If I've earned your subscription, I just want to say welcome to the MCM family. If I still haven't earned it, hopefully you'll come back and I'll get another chance to do so. But until that time, I just want to say to everybody, God bless. Hope you all enjoyed the show. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.